3, 2, 1.
Emmett Till was a 14-year-old African-American boy who was murdered in Mississippi in 1955 after insulting a white woman. Hello, my name is Jonathan Alvarez and I will be narrating this presentation. The viciousness of his murder, along with the acquittal of his killers and their crimes, drew widespread attention to the long history of violence and oppression of African Americans in the United States. Emmett Lewis Till was the son of Mamie Carthan and Lewis Till. Till's family moved to Argo, Illinois, as part of a great migration of rural black families out of the South to the North to escape violence. Till was born on July 25, 1941, in Chicago, Illinois. He attended segregated schools growing up and was a responsible child. When Emmett Till was 14 years old, he was visiting a family in Mississippi. On August 24, 1955, he was with a cousin when they decided to stop at a local grocery store to buy candy. While at a grocery store, he spoke to the clerk, 21-year-old Carolyn Bryant, a white woman who was married to the owner of the store. Although what happened at the store was a matter of dispute, Till was accused of flirting with or whistling at Bryant. After exiting the store, Carolyn had accused Till. Her husband and his half-brother had been enraged and decided to take matters to their own hands. On August 28, 1955, while Emmett was sleeping in a family member's home, Roy Bryant, the husband of the grocery store clerk, and his half-brother, J.W. Millam, kidnapped him. The two men made Emmett undress, savagely beat him, gouged out one of his eyes, and then shot him in the head. Emmett's death. The men who killed Till tossed his body over the Black Bayou Bridge in Glendora, Mississippi, near the Tallahatchie River. The two men drove back to Roy Bryant's home in Money, where they allegedly burned Emmett's clothes. His public funeral. Till's mother returned his body to Chicago, where she insisted on a public funeral service with an open casket. She wanted to bring attention of the violence, oppression, and unfair democracy towards African Americans. Thousands attended Emmett's funeral or viewed his open casket. Images of his mutilated body were published in black-oriented magazines and newspapers, rallying the popular black support and white sympathy across the U.S. Despite the witness accounts and evidence, on September 23rd, only 4 days after their trial had begun, Bryant and Millam were acquitted of their charges by an all-white male jury. A few months later, the two admitted to murdering Emmett to a magazine intern for money. They told their story on how they kidnapped and killed Emmett. Being protected by double jeopardy laws, the two men were never sentenced for their crimes. Years later, Carolyn Bryant confessed that she had constructed a false testimony, stating that Till had made any verbal or physical advances towards her in the store. Emmett Till's murder sparked important momentum in the civil rights movement. 9 years later, segregation and racial discrimination was outlawed when the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed by Congress. To make a summary, Emmett Till was a 14-year-old African-American boy who was murdered in Mississippi in 1955 after insulting a white woman. While Emmett was sleeping in a family member's home, Roy Bryant, the husband of the grocery store clerk, and his half-brother J.W. Millam kidnapped him. The two men made Emmett undress, savagely beat him, gouged one of his eyes out, and then shot him in the head. They then killed Till, tossing his body over the Black Bayou Bridge in Glendora, Mississippi, near the Tallahatchie River. Till's mother returned his body to Chicago, where she insisted on a public funeral service with an open casket. Thousands had attended Emmett Till's funeral or viewed his open casket. These are my works cited for this presentation. Thank you for your time and watching my presentation.